What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with an NHL Trade Rumours video, this time supplied from Specters Hockey. Make sure to go and check out the link down below. But there is a ton of rumors to unpack in this video, so we're not going to waste any more time. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're new. Daily NHL Trade Rumor content is coming because the NHL trade deadline is, 7 or 8 days away at the time I'm recording this. So again, make sure to subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And let's get right into this. So like I said, there's a ton of teams involved in all these rumors. Now, the Boston Bruins, this is an interesting team because they're one of the better teams in the NHL, but they've lost out on a couple players that they might have been targeting lately, but there's a couple players that they could be going after. So NewJersey.com, Mike Rosenstein, hopefully I'm saying that name right, reported that the Boston Bruins could be interested in Kyle Palmieri. Now, he signed through next season, so the Bruins would be getting him for this year and next year, so 2 playoff runs, because we do know the Bruins will be in the hunt next year as well. Obviously, it would make more sense for the Bruins to get a player that they can have for 2 runs instead of 1. You're giving up assets for a non-rental. This is a guy that will be on your team, and who knows if you could extend it past that point, but they would have to see the production next year, of course. But they're mostly worried about this year because they've got a team that can go far. They've got 2 good goaltenders, a good blue line, and obviously that line that they have with Bergeron, Pastrnak, and Marchand is one of the best scoring lines in the league, if not the best scoring line in the league. Now, Palmieri leads the Devils right now with 22 goals and 41 points, so you're just adding some secondary scoring, and that's what they're looking for, of course. Now, the other player that they could be interested in kind of fits right into the Boston Bruins mold, and that's Josh Anderson. And right now, he's obviously sidelined, but anyways, the problem with this is that they're not really sure what they want to do with him because he hasn't played since December, I believe. Yes, and he's recently resumed practicing. But this is also coming from NBC Sports Boston, Joe Haggerty. He believes that Anderson will have to play some games, be healthy before the Bruins even consider making that move, because he is a physical type of player. He's a power forward type of guy, and of course the Bruins, I mean, that's like their MO. Like they love power forwards. They love guys that can be physical and play that in that playoff style of game, and Josh Anderson would fit right in. He's also pretty young, so if they can hold on to him long term, that would make sense. I don't think that they'd have to pay him very much to hold on to him long term either. But anyways, he's the type of player that they're looking at if they can't get Chris Kreider, which I'll update later on in here. But what I wanted to note here, and it's also the Specters note, but I said it off the top, was that the Bruins were linked to Toffoli, but he went to the Canucks, and they were also linked to Blake Coleman, who obviously went to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So 2 players that they really wanted. Obviously 2 of the better names that were available for like secondary scoring are gone. So this could be some pressure right now. Don Sweeney is going to have to look for something else, and maybe Anderson or Palmieri could fit that mold for them. So here's another thing that I wanted to bring up. The Boston Bruins, regardless of if they pick up another player or not, they're a team that could go deep. And whether or not it's an impact forward right away, they find ways to make players impact forwards. Like whoever they acquire will become an impact player. Let's be honest. They usually do that. It's not luck. It's skill. They know how to fit players into the lineup properly. And you have to commend their coaching staff and their management and their scouting to be able to find those players. Like, hats off to them for sure. Now, this is something interesting. A lot of people were going nuts over this last night. The Canadiens, Marc Bergevin and Scott Mellanby were in Colorado to watch the Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning. Depending on when you're watching this, I believe that they were in town watching a game there on the 17th. So Here's one thing I wanted to say, and shout out to my buddy Downtown Stephen Brown. Make sure to go check out his channel, Downtown Sports. He brought up the fact that people are freaking out for GMs doing their job at this point of the year. GMs and people that work with them and scouts and all that stuff like that, they do that all year. But obviously there's a lot more, and especially a lot more eyes when the GM shows up. Like, it's one thing to send a scout, but when you send your GM, it's obviously much different. But let's not freak out. They're just doing their job. Now, basically, people are saying that they could make a move with either club. They have pieces to move, and some people were even suggesting, what if it's Carey Price to the Avalanche? There's no way. I just can't see that happening. But apparently, the Avs could be considering trading Tyson Jost, while the Lightning have limited cap space. For next season, they've made a move anyways. But the Habs are expected to move Kovalchuk. Of course, he could bring in something nice for them. Nate Thompson and also Charlie Lindgren, goaltender, could be in play. Now, Jean-Charles Lajoie, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, from TVA Sports, sees that Max Domi could be a replacement for Nazem Kadri. Now, there's been a ton of injuries. Mikko Rantanen's out now for a while. This could be a move they make. I'm not the biggest fan of Max Domi, but I mean, if you want a guy that can put up some points and be physical, he's not as good as Nazem Kadri, but Max Domi could fill that void for them for a little bit. There's also some talks that maybe the Lightning could part with Yanni Gourde. So again, the Habs could be trading partners with either the Lightning or the Avalanche. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. The Denver Post basically said that Joe Sakic will do something, maybe. Like he thinks that there's got to be something to replace Kadri and Rantanen. Rantanen's out for at least, I think, a month or two, so that's got to suck. They also said that Thomas Tatar could be an option if the Habs were to make a move with them. Now, let's move over to the New York Rangers. Just a quick thing on them. Larry Brooks of the New York Post is wondering if the Rangers are facing a pretty impossible goaltending situation. Of course, we know they have Henrik Lundqvist, the king, one of the best goaltenders of his era, my era growing up. And they also have Igor Shesterkin and Alexander Georgiev. So they have two really good young netminders that, you know, are a little bit overhyped in terms of trade value, in my opinion. Georgiev, apparently teams were looking, like the Rangers were looking for like a top defensive prospect plus, which to me seems a little bit ridiculous. I mean, some people were suggesting that when the Leafs and the Rangers were supposedly talking, that Kapanen or Rasmus Sandin were in those talks and that wasn't enough. That's when you hang up the phone, because that just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry, but an unproven goaltender, a guy who's doing pretty well right now, but just he's unproven. You're going to trade a top prospect or a 20-goal scorer for a guy like that. Just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But Brooks doesn't expect the Rangers to move Georgiev unless they get a surefire top 6 or top end first rounder, which again is a little bit insane to me. But they're not in a rush to move Tony DeAngelo or Georgiev because they're monitoring the Chris Kreider situation. So if they trade Chris Kreider, then of course you're signing Georgiev and DeAngelo for sure, because you have that money. You're willing to hold on to them and deal with the goaltending situation. And of course DeAngelo, there's no sense in worrying about him. You just sign him and keep him going because he's been rolling. But Chris Kreider is interesting. A lot of people are wondering if Chris Kreider will be pried away from the Rangers. They're talking contract right now, but according to Pierre LeBrun, there hasn't been a ton of talks right now. So we'll have to see where that goes. I would expect that there'll be more talk on him in the next coming days. But Lundqvist, again, getting back to him, people are saying that it could be a little bit disrespectful that he's not getting a ton of playing time. But when your two young goaltenders are starting to show some progress, and you want them to continue to build on their skill, you can't play a guy who's in the back end of his career. He has an $8.5 million AAV right now through to the 2021 season. So he has a no movement clause as well, and I doubt he wants to move on. Unless something happens there, the Rangers have a lot of decisions to make from now until the 24th, but I doubt that's going to involve anything to do with Henrik Lundqvist. But keep an eye on Kreider, DeAngelo, and Georgiev, of course. Now, latest on the New Jersey Devils, we've seen that they just made a trade. Their captain, Andy Green, they traded him off to the Islanders. There was a lot of talk that maybe Zajac would go to the Islanders as well, because Lou Lamoriello wants to overpay for former players that he had before. Now, I have nothing against Green or Zajac, but that trade was a win for the Devils, 1,000,000% with the Islanders. I'm sorry, Green is a good 6-7 guy at this point, and a lot of people will disagree with me there. Some people might even hate me. I'll even bump up Green to maybe being a 5. I just don't see why that trade was necessary. I just think Lou Lamoriello wanted to overpay for a vet coming up to the playoffs. But again, there's some talk that Travis Zajac is refusing to move his no-trade clause, so take that out of the way. He's not getting moved. Mastracco from NorthJersey.com, Abby Mastracco, hopefully I'm saying that right, also reported the Devils have not had a conversation recently with Sami Vatanen, but Fitzgerald said that there could be a change said that could change because the 28-year-old defenseman is an unrestricted free agent, and if the Devils feel like he's not going to stick around, then they're going to have to move him. He is hurt right now, though, I believe, so we'll have to keep an eye on that situation. There's nothing too crazy there. Getting to the Islanders, talking about them again, Arthur Staple from The Athletic examined whether or not they'll do anything else. Because they added Andy Green, of course, on Sunday. And Casey Zizekas is 3 weeks away from returning to action. And there's no firm deadline for Kyle Clutterbuck's return either. Staples suggests adding a third-line center. So there's Derek Grant from Anaheim available, Melker Karlsson from San Jose, Trevor Lewis from Los Angeles, Connor Sheary from Buffalo, Tyler Ennis, who's had a really good season with Ottawa. He was really good with Toronto, too. So that could be an interesting one. He's pretty quick. And Lamoriello is familiar with him, I believe. And if they want to go big, Ottawa's Jean-Gabriel Pageau could be in play. Actually, going back to Ennis, I'm pretty sure that was a Dubas signing. Actually, I'm almost positive it was, so scratch that thought. But Jean-Gabriel Pageau would be a lot for them to pay. But the Spectre's note here says, Islanders GM Lou Lamoriello always places cards close to the vest. Yeah, that's 100% true. Nevertheless, he's got over $18 million in deadline cap room, so lots of space. If he wants to make that big move, he has the space to make it, so keep an eye on that. Red Wings, basically from MLive.com, Asner Khan lists center Andreas Athanasiou and goaltender Jonathan Bernier as trade options. Bernier's having a really good year. Double A is a guy that's lost a little bit of respect from certain teams in the NHL. From what I've read, he's a little bit hot-headed, and some people suggest that he might be a problem. I don't know. I'm not in the dressing room. I have no idea. And I always say I hate when people talk about that, about dressing room stuff, because it could all be BS. I have no idea where that's coming from, but I've seen the way he plays, and he's sometimes a really dangerous player, so I'm not sure if that translates in the locker room, but the Red Wings could move those guys. Young defenseman Dennis Cholowski has struggled to stick with the Wings. He could be moved as part of a larger deal. Also, they said Trevor Daley, who's often injured, they might try to move him, but it's probably going to be impossible. They also listed Luke Glendening, Mike Green, and Darren Helm among the Wings trade candidates. Poor seasons by veterans Frans Nielsen, Justin Abelkader, and Valtteri Filppula will adversely affect their trade value. So lots of news here from the Wings, the Bruins, the Habs, the Avalanche, like literally half the NHL rumors in this video. So if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. There's lots of stuff happening. Listen, this is huge. Like, there's a lot of stuff here. Hopefully a lot of names get moved, but subscribe if you're new. I'd really appreciate it. Join the squad. Let's get to 7,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I appreciate you guys as always. Make sure to check out the Spectre's Hockey link down below, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.